For more than a year, we've been ringing the alarm about Trudeau's censorship plans. Well, they're here now. His bill to nationalize control of the internet to make it subject to his legal control was rammed through the Senate last week. I'll tell you more in a moment, but my purpose today isn't so much to report the news as to tell you what we're going to do about it in the hopes that you'll join us. We've set up a website at stopc11.com where we've laid out the plan and where you can go to help. I'll get back to that website in a moment, but first, some quick background. Trudeau has proposed 4 different censorship laws, each one more punitive than the one before. The first one, Bill C-11, is the most important one because it declares that websites are legally now the same as old-fashioned TV and radio stations, and so Trudeau's CRTC regulator can tell them what to do. It says companies like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Rumble are now broadcasters like radio stations, and they can be regulated by Trudeau. Take a look here at the things Trudeau plans to do to these internet broadcasters. Here's the list of conditions. That's actually what it's called in the law. Conditions that Trudeau says internet companies have to obey to be allowed in Canada. Section 9.11a, for example, says Trudeau can determine the proportion of programs to be broadcast that shall be Canadian programs and the proportion of time that shall be devoted to the broadcasting of Canadian programs. So the number of programs and the amount of time. That's very detailed programming by Trudeau. This applies to music, to TV shows, to movies, and it applies to news content like Rebel News too. Just look through these conditions here, the amount of French language content, the amount of diversity content, and I'm sure Elon Musk will love this one. They have to disclose financial or commercial information to Trudeau. Now, to me, the scariest part of these conditions is 9.11e, which forces the internet companies to promote the content that Trudeau's regulator tells them to promote. They call that discoverability. For example, when YouTube or Facebook suggests a video for you, your For You page, that's based on their algorithm. It's actually based on your own viewing habits. No more. This section in the law says Trudeau can regulate, quote, the presentation of programs and programming services for selection by the public. So now Trudeau can tell Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Netflix, Spotify, whoever, which videos to promote and which videos not to promote, which ones to boost and which ones to hide. Gee, I wonder what he's going to do with news sources that he doesn't like.
Organizations like yours that continue to spread misinformation and disinformation. I won't call it a media organization. Your group of individuals need to take accountability. Polarization that we're seeing in this country.
It is disappointing to see the Conservatives engage in peddling rebel media, conspiracy theories.
Yeah, he hates Rebel News. He just can't stop obsessing over us.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Alexandre pour Rebel News. Donc, M. Trudeau, je vais revenir rapidement sur ce qui s'est passé hier. Vous avez diabolisé l'un des rares médias qui ne reçoit pas d'argent du gouvernement. Vous avez exprimé votre opinion en disant que nous propageons la désinformation. Si c'était vrai et si c'était le cas, la Cour fédérale ne nous aurait pas permis d'être ici aujourd'hui. Je suis moi-même scientifique et je me base sur les faits. Ma question est la suivante. L'Israël est l'un des pays les plus vaccinés au monde. Ils sont rendus maintenant à leur 4e rappel de vaccin. Ils ne considèrent plus que ceux qui ont reçu 2 doses de vaccin sont pleinement vaccinés. Ma question est, plusieurs Canadiens ne désirent pas avoir un rappel de vaccin. Allez-vous leur enlever leurs privilèges reliés au passeport vaccinal? Et aurez-vous l'obligeance de répondre à ma question en tant que Premier ministre ou allez-vous encore diaboliser mon média?
J'ai partagé ma perspective sur ton organisation hier soir. J'ai plus rien à dire.
Ça démontre bien qui vous êtes. Merci.
Could you imagine putting Trudeau in charge of what you can see or hear on the internet and letting him command the internet companies in the way I've just listed in the law? That is the law now. And like I say, he has 3 more laws lined up right after this one, including a law that would allow the Trudeau government to literally ban a website it doesn't like, to ban it. They seem really excited about that.
Envision having blocking orders. I mean, maybe it's not, it would likely be a last result nuclear bomb in a toolbox of mechanism for a regulator.
3 more censorship laws to come, including one that has fines of tens of thousands of dollars if you publish something offensive online, even if you were just a kid when you did it. It's actually in the law. But all of those laws depend on the one that was just passed last week, C-11. Because none of this works if Trudeau doesn't give himself the jurisdiction, the power to regulate what you see, hear, or say on the internet. That's what's new. And he just did that in C-11. So what are you going to do about it? I mean, you can talk about it, you can tell people about it, you can learn more about it yourself, and that's good, but it is passive. I think that's being a bit of a spectator in life, which is what most journalists are, by the way. We're reporters, we're voyeurs even. We're not doers. We report on other people who do things. That's one of my favorite things about Rebel News. Every once in a while, we get involved to do things, not just to talk about things. And sometimes we can really make a difference. We crowdfunded lawyers to defend more than 2,500 people during the lockdowns. And we challenged the worst of the lockdown laws and mandates in court. We're still defending close to 100 truckers, by the way. More directly relevant, we went to court to fight against Trudeau's censorship before, and we beat him twice in a row in 2019 and then 2021. Those 2 federal elections, Trudeau banned Rebel News and other independent media from attending the election debates. It was a real David versus Goliath fight twice, and we won both times. So it's hard. It's an uphill battle, but it is possible to beat him. And as Wayne Gretzky always said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, let's take a shot. In fact, I've got 4 shots I think we can take. Let me tell you the 4 things I think could make a real difference. And I'd like to invite you to join with us. Here's the 4 things. Number 1, visit stopc11.com. It's a special website we've set up with all of our reporting on C-11. You can see videos where we go through the law line by line. You can see our reporting on how the law was rammed through. You can see what critics are saying that this law will do to internet freedom. It's basically our one-stop shop for people to learn about the law. That's stopc11.com. Check it out. Number 2, sign the petition. At stopc11.com, you'll see on the right-hand side of the page a petition to the Heritage Minister to repeal the law. Now, obviously, the current Heritage Minister isn't going to listen to us. He's a Trudeau puppet. He does whatever his master says. In fact, sometimes I wonder if he's even read the law. Listen to him lie with a straight face about that discoverability algorithm.
It's understood that it's not about creators, online creators, because it is not. Think about it. People are saying, "Oh my God, they're going to be watching us and passing a judgment on my content." It's millions of videos every day that are uploaded. Vashi, who could check that? First, we're not interested. But even if we were, who could do that? It's impossible.
But you might be creating through these new regulations a different way of sort of a different algorithm, basically.
No,
right?
we're not touching algorithm.
I mean, I literally just showed you section 9.11, where the law specifically requires YouTube and Facebook and the rest of them to promote or demote whatever the government tells them to. It's in black and white. Has he even read the bill? So he won't listen to the petition, obviously, but maybe the next Heritage Minister will, especially if the Conservatives win the next election. But the point is, I think we can get 100,000 or more signatures. And if we can do that, we can show the entire country that real Canadians do not support the idea of Trudeau controlling the internet. So please sign the petition, and that will also let us keep in touch with you about news from our battle. Number 3, go to the public hearings and speak out. Look, Trudeau and his puppet Pablo Rodriguez probably won't listen to you. I mean, they didn't even listen to members of their own party who called for amendments to this bill, who worried about this bill. They laughed in the face of any amendments, but we have to show the world that only Trudeau shills and Trudeau cronies support this. I showed you on Friday that the government has announced that they're going to have public hearings across the country. That's sort of weird to pass the law and then have hearings about it. Like I say, they will most likely ignore everything they hear there, but the rest of the world won't ignore them. My goal is that every Canadian who rejects Trudeau controlling the internet shows up to speak at these hearings by the thousand. I don't just want Liberal Party hacks there going to salute their corrupt leader. I want normal people there to show up and to speak truth to power and to let the government know and to let the rest of Canada know that we don't accept China-style censorship. We don't let our politicians control the internet. So when the list of public hearings is made public, when it's published on the government website, we will let you know where, and we will invite you to attend in your area. We'll even put together helpful fact sheets about C-11 to help you speak with confidence and knowledge at these consultations. I know in my bones that the only people who actually support C-11 are insiders, either Liberal Party insiders or people that Trudeau shovels money to. No normal people would support this sort of censorship. Who would let Justin Trudeau choose what you watch and hear and read? We have to prove that normal people don't support this. In massive numbers, we have to prove it. So when those public hearings are scheduled, we will post them on stopc11.com, along with helpful fact sheets to assist you in your remarks. Number 4, this is the big one. Constitutional litigation. You know, it's the most expensive of the 4 steps. Step 1 is the website. Step 2 is the petition. Step 3 are the public hearings. But in a way, all of those are still just talk, right? Step 4 is about going to a court and asking a judge to block this law on the basis of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In short, this law will infringe on our fundamental freedoms. If our charter means anything, it must stop Trudeau from commandeering the internet. The constitutional challenge has to be done right by experienced lawyers who are used to high-stakes litigation, who have done constitutional challenges, who are used to fighting long odds. The lawsuit has to be smart because Trudeau will throw everything he has at defending it. When we challenged Trudeau in 2021 in the federal court, we had 1 lawyer. Trudeau threw 7 lawyers at us. He'll do anything to win. So we have to be good. Which is why we need to move first. I don't want someone else out there to challenge the law with a weak lawyer or a weak argument. I don't want a wobbly case to be the test case to set a bad precedent. I want the best foot forward with the best plaintiffs and the best lawyers and the best arguments. That should be the one that sets the precedent. Obviously, Rebel News is going to be a plaintiff. I've heard other journalists call C-11 the kill rebel law. It's so obvious. But other independent journalists and content creators should be part of the lawsuit too. So it's not just us. In fact, the more plaintiffs, the better if they have a genuine interest in this case. And if you have a genuine interest as a potential plaintiff, send me an email to ezra@rebelnews.com if you think you're in a position to join the lawsuit, if you have standing in the matter. I'm not talking about a class action. I'm talking about journalists or other content creators who are at risk from this censorship law. And finally, there's no other way to say it. We're going to need up to $500,000 to fight this battle. And it's probably going to take us years. Sorry, that's just the facts. I know this from years of litigation on these other matters, including the lockdown laws. So we need good lawyers who know their stuff, who will fight like lions, who are ready for the government's likely responses, who can match the government's experts with our experts, who can go toe-to-toe with the Justice Department and their hired guns from the private sector. It's a hard thing to do, but we've done it before. We've done it before, and we've won. Look, I think we have to do this now. If we don't do this, who will? Who will launch a serious lawsuit with serious lawyers with the staying power to fight this as long as it takes, even if it takes years? I think it has to be us. Who else is going to do it? The CBC? The Canadian Association of Journalists, whose members only care about getting more government subsidies from Trudeau? They're on his side. It has to be us. And by us, I mean you too. Will you please join with me in our 4-point plan to stop C-11. Justin Trudeau is obsessed with controlling what Canadians can read or see. He already owns the CBC, the state broadcaster, and he controls the rest of Canada's TV and radio stations through the government regulator called the CRTC. And recently he has plowed hundreds of millions of dollars into newspapers to shape their narrative too. The internet is the last free place, which is why he seeks to rule over it. But the internet is supposed to be free. Join me in our 4-point plan. Go to stopc11.com, sign the petition, go to a public hearing in your area to speak truth to power, and help us challenge this law in court by chipping in to help cover our legal fees, or even by joining us as a plaintiff in the lawsuit. Trudeau thinks this is over. You saw Pablo Rodriguez. He's practically giddy. The fight to stop C-11 is bigger than all other fights, because if we lose the ability to speak freely on the internet, if we lose control of the internet to Trudeau, well, good luck in ever fighting anything again. Go to stopc11.com, and together, let's fight for freedom. That was an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show. I'm Ezra Levant. Every weekday, I do a monologue about the topic of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest, either in studio or via Skype. And then I read your mail, whether it's fan mail or hate mail, which is sometimes even more interesting. This is on our premium service, though, called Rebel News Plus. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. It's $8 a month or less if you buy a whole year in advance. You get my show every weeknight, plus Sheila Gunn Reid's show every week. It's called The Gun Show. It's pretty amazing. You know, we rely on you because we do not take a dime from the government. In Canada, that makes us almost unique. So please help us out and help yourself to some great journalism at rebelnewsplus.com.